Welcome back to Gun&Shot TV. Today we're going to be talking about cleaning products, cleaning kit, items you need to clean your guns. I've heard from a number of shooters that are either new shooters, so they maybe don't have any of this gear or they don't really know what they're doing. Or I've even heard from some people who've been gun owners a long time but just don't shoot that much and don't really clean their guns and don't really know what's going on. And I got to admit, when I started shooting, I didn't really know what's going on, and I didn't really know what I needed and what I didn't need, and there's so much conflicting information. Everybody has an idea of, well, you need this, you need that. Here's what I use. You can use whatever you like, but these are some things, next time you're at the sporting goods store or you're at Walmart or whatever, things to pick up, and that way you have them for when you need them, because you probably will need them over your time shooting guns in your life. You'll definitely need them at one point or another, so you might as well have them on hand. The first thing I'm going to say is you're going to want a toolbox. Get something like this with it's reasonably big, has a tray to organize things, has some storage on the top. That's super important because then you have all your stuff in one place. Digging for it in different areas of the house is a nightmare. It's really nice to just say, oh, I'm going to clean a gun, grab the toolbox, put it out. I've also got this cleaning pad. You don't really need that unless you're pretty messy, but I got one for free. I think I bought a P22 years ago, and it came for free, so it's been in my kit ever since. It is kind of nice because when you clean, you do get some lead residue and stuff, so if you're like cleaning it on your dining room table or something, you better clean that up or catch it before it gets anywhere, just for lead safety concerns. Next, we've got some cleaning chemicals. I've got Hops 9. This is a really good all-purpose cleaner. It will break down gunpowder residue, lead residue, get lead out of barrels, any of that stuff. One concern with it, though, is you need to be careful. Certain guns can be damaged, nickel-plated, stuff like that. You don't really want to get it all over the gun. It will mess up the plate, so be very careful. Do a little bit of research. There are some nickel-safe gun cleaners. There are some people that use things like gun scrubber, which is an aerosol, to blow through and get powder out. You can also use non-chlorinated brake cleaner from the auto parts store. Or Walmart. It really doesn't matter, but you need something to really, a solvent to really break everything down. Sometimes you'll get a gun that has had a lot of lead shot through it, or even a lot of jacketed bullets, so there's copper fouling. So sometimes you'll need something like this that is a foaming cleaner that will really break down lead, carbon, copper, stuff like that. You can also use stuff that's, specifically will remove lead or specifically will remove copper. You can do a little bit of research online too. That's one of those things. You can use anything in place of these chemicals. Essentially, pick your favorite one. These are just the ones that I use because they're what I've picked up over the years. The next thing you'll need is a oil. In this case, I've got Remoil. Just at Walmart, that's what they've got. It's cheap. There's a couple different versions. There's some like Teflon and all that stuff. Frankly, it's just a light oil. You could use plenty of different gun oils. In fact, there's a test I'll probably throw in the description of a guy who tested I think it's like 60 different gun oils or something like that. And they all have their own different quirks. Usually to get a really good one, you want to spend a little bit extra. In my case, I shoot and I clean pretty often, so I don't really care. This will work just fine. For a grease, I use Moly lithium grease from the auto parts section at Walmart. It is a lithium grease with a little bit of Moly betium disulfide, which is a friction modifier, and it works really good. It's really cheap. It smells a little bit strong, but you'll get like a lifetime supply for your $2. So I would recommend it. Just go a little bit light with it because it does kind of stink. So that's something that might put you off a little bit, but especially lever actions, anything that slides, Mini 14s, M1 Grands, M14s, anything with that sliding, op rod, any of that really should be greased. I think 1911s you can run with grease. Something like a 22 you don't want to grease because it's just going to catch all that fouling and make it worse. But anything else, that with a lot of sliding parts that rub together, you want to grease. If it rotates, you want to oil it. So that's kind of a rule of thumb that works pretty well. And remember that any oil or grease you use, go with the lightest amount you can. A lot of times wipe it on and then wipe it off. And whatever stays is what you got for lubrication. If you over lube stuff, it just causes more problems. Another thing that I like to use is Lanolin. This is actually case lube. I use it as a rust preventative, so something to keep the gun from rusting in between cleanings, like an extra oil you rub on the surface. This is Lanolin mixed with Isoheet in a spray bottle. I use it for case lubrication, but you can also rub Lanolin, the thick Lanolin. Let me run and grab some. So, TV magic, I suddenly have Lanolin in my hand. This is actually made from sheep's wool. It's a pretty good rust preventative. You can just put it on your fingertip and kind of rub it on the surface of your gun. It works pretty well as a rust preventative. It doesn't smell. It's not harmful. It's not going to hurt anything. Like I said, I actually cut the Lanolin with Isoheet for case lube. And what I'll do sometimes, because I like to make sure my guns don't get all rusty, is I'll take the soft cases that I transport them to and from the range in, and I'll take the gun out and hold it open like this. Actually mist in a little bit of this Isoheet Lanolin mixture. The Isoheet's just going to evaporate off. It's just alcohol. And now there's a thin coating of Lanolin on all the surface inside the gun case. So every time the gun, in this case I've got the gun in a holster. Lanolin is good for holster leather too. Every time the gun goes in the case, it gets a little bit of Lanolin on the exterior surface on the way to and from the range. Just keeps, because usually when you get to the range, the guns are cold. You come out of the car, open them up inside. Now they got condensation on them. This way, there's a little bit of Lanolin that the condensation has to get through to affect the gun, and vice versa for when you come on home. So that's something I like to do. Okay, moving along. We've now covered the oils and the cleaners. This is some tools you're gonna need. You're gonna need this a gunsmith screwdriver set. This was a cheap one for $10. It's got all the flathead bits, and they're hollow ground ones, so they won't strip out your screw heads. It's also got some Allen keys and some Phillips bits. Definitely pick up one of those. It's a lifesaver. It keeps your gun from looking like garbage, and it's just all the different bits that you'll probably need to take apart almost any gun. Next, I've got some punches. This is actually a brass and a steel punch set. It's got a crappy center punch in here. I got this from Amazon. It's been a lifesaver. I started out with some steel punches I got from Harbor Freight, and they worked okay, but it's nice to have brass for changing sights or doing things where it's going to show. Brass won't mar the surface of a gun, so it might get a little bit of a brass buildup if you're beating in a sight or something, but it'll wipe right off with some gun cleaner. So I would recommend something like this. This was a cheap one. Over time, you'll both mushroom out some of these or bend them or even snap the tips off. So what I've done is for some of these, I've taken them and ground them down to custom size, or you can even take these large ones, chuck them up in a piece of machinery and turn them down to make your own size. But for, I think, 15, 16 bucks, something like that, this has held up really well for me. It's been 2-3 years, and I've broken a couple bits, but it saved me so much time and so much money. If you want, you can make your own sight pusher bits or certain bits you can make. If you go to the hardware store and get a nylon bolt, you can take it and sand it down to the size of punch you need to change a sight or something. They're not that durable. If you can't find a hardware store, if you go to Walmart and go in the plumbing section, they've got toilet seat bolts. That's a nylon bolt. I've used those in a pinch to put on sights. Just cut the head off, make it into a punch, grind it down to the size you need, and use it. It's going to be disposable. It's going to break probably, but you get 2 in a package, so you got that going for you. So that's a punch set that I would recommend. I'll throw a link to that in the comments or in the description. Moving on, we've now got our basic tools and our chemicals you're going to need. There's a couple things you're going to need beyond that. This is bronze wool. This is great for putting a little gun oil on and taking off rust or cleaning up severe powder on the outside of a gun. It's kind of hard to get bronze wool in an action, so it's really mainly only for external cleaning. So moving on, we've got our final few items that you're going to need. You're going to need something to clean a barrel. Like this is a bulged barrel I've got. There's one quick way to do that, and that's for if you're at the range and you just want to clean it, you put some gun oil or some solvent. This is what's called a Boresnake, and you're going to put that, drop the weighted end through the chamber, and you're going to pull it through, and you just want to get a little bit of gun oil or solvent or something on there. That's going to swipe anything out of the barrel for you. So that works pretty well. But when you have a really nasty gun that's got a lot of leading or something, you're going to need some brushes. And those look like this. They screw into a rod. There's even a couple different types. There's ones that look like spirals like this. This is great for getting heavy falling out because it's flat surfaces that rub up and down the barrel. Then you're going to need to get all the stuff you scrubbed loose out. So what I like to use is a patch on a brass jag. That won't scratch the barrel, and it will push a patch down. It allows, it's a much nicer fit to the barrel, so it really pushes the patch through and make sure you get all that crud out. A few miscellaneous tools you'll need for cleaning too. I find once a gun is really gross, a lot of times I spend a lot of time rubbing solvent on a Q-tip and just going through and scraping out the insides of the action. The barrel is easy to clean, essentially, because you've got tools specifically for it, but every action is a little bit different, and the shapes are different. So Q-tips are very nice. I've found, too, a brass brush. Now, this is a 3-brush set that I got at Harbor Freight. It's steel. You probably don't want to use this on most of your guns. Nylon, which is like a toothbrush. You could use a toothbrush in a pinch. I just find this takes forever because it's too soft. And then these brass brushes, which these are perfect. They won't scratch bluing or any of that, but they'll actually get fouling out. I tend to use some rags like this to wipe down guns too. These are handy to have. You can even use, like, these are old socks. Once they get holes in them, I cut them into rags. The only other thing you're going to need is, I like to use one of these picks. You can get these from Harbor Freight. You can get dentist picks. And what you'll use that for is you'll use it to kind of go in and break up crud deposits. You don't want to push real hard with this and scratch the gun. But if you gently kind of pick with it, you can break up, chunks of powder residue or lead residue. I see those all the time, and 22 actions especially get really crudded up to the point where the bolts don't close anymore, and so they're dangerous to fire that way because you could have a case blowout. So it's nice to go in and really pick away all that crud every once in a while and start fresh and know that it's really cleaned out. There's a few things that are not essential but great to have. Like, this is a gun Butler. It just holds rifles. It makes it a little bit easier to clean them. But, that's one of the things. You can get by without it. You can just do it on a table like this. The main thing is that you have all the tools you need before you get into a gun, because there's nothing worse than taking something apart and realize you don't have what you need and putting it together. But if you have these basic tools, throw them in a toolbox like that, I think that you'll be able to pretty much tackle anything you get at. And you'll find once you clean a gun a few times, get it real clean, as long as you keep up on it, it really won't be that bad, with the exception of rimfire. Rimfires just seem to get nasty no matter what you do. But with these basic tools, you should have everything you need in your arsenal to clean anything you need to clean. For Gun&ShotTV, this is Chris saying, have a rootin' tootin' drunken shooting day. Thanks for watching.